My ex-wife called, "I'm divorcing you and the condo's sold." Then she cackled, until I was eating cereal with a fork. That's what I remember first. It wasn't even the right cereal, just the off-brand kind that goes soggy the second it touches milk. And there I was, sitting at the chipped laminate kitchen table in a t-shirt that probably hadn't been washed in 4 days, spoonless, hunched over like a collapsed lung, listening to the hum of the fridge and the quiet clatter of nothing happening. The blinds were half closed, twisted at odd angles from years of being yanked instead of gently pulled. Dust hung in the slats, floating gold in the morning light, and for a second it was almost beautiful, the way the sun could still find its way in, even through a broken thing. There was a weird quiet in the condo, not peaceful, hollow, the kind of quiet that amplifies every tiny sound, the tap dripping in the bathroom, the faint rumble of the upstairs neighbor dragging furniture around again. I hadn't said a real word to another human in maybe 36 hours. That wasn't unusual lately. There used to be so much noise, her humming while brushing her teeth, her footsteps packing the hall as she talked to her sister on speakerphone, the slam of cupboards when she was mad, her laugh, God, that laugh, the real one, not the one that would come later. I think I was waiting for something to change on its own. Like maybe if I just kept being still, the universe would hit the undo button. Like maybe she'd come through the door with a bag of groceries and pretend nothing had ever broken. Then the phone rang. The screen lit up with her name, still wife, in my contacts. I hadn't changed it. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me still believed in titles. I answered without thinking, still chewing milk warm in my mouth. "Hey," I said. Silence then. "I'm divorcing you," she said. Her voice was sharp, too awake for the hour, and the condo's sold. Just like that. Like telling someone the car needs gas. I didn't say anything right away. My stomach went cold, fork halfway to my mouth. The crunch of cereal turned to pulp and I swallowed it like a stone. "Wait, what?" Then she laughed. Not a laugh like she used to, not the one that crinkled her eyes and made me believe in good things. This one was brittle, high-pitched, like glass breaking. "I said the place is sold," she repeated. "I signed the papers this morning. You'll get your share. I made sure of that." Another laugh. "Aren't I generous?" There was this sharp, tinny ringing in my ears, like a pressure drop. You can't just," I tried. "Oh, I can," she said. "I did. Don't act surprised. You've been checked out for a year." I could hear her clicking something, maybe typing, maybe scrolling. She sounded busy, detached, like I was an item on a checklist. "Why are you doing this like this?" I asked, voice cracking in the middle. She went quiet. Then, "Because if I saw your face, I might let you talk me out of it, and I can't do that again. I won't." That was when it really landed. The finality. She was gone. Not going, not mad, not bluffing. Gone. And I had no words, none that would reach her, none that hadn't already failed. She hung up. Just like that. I stared at the screen, at the empty space where her voice had just been. And I laughed, not out loud, just a breath through my nose that wasn't really a laugh at all. I think I was trying to keep from breaking open in the middle of the room. The cereal was soggy now, the milk had gone lukewarm, the bowl was almost empty and I didn't remember eating it. I put the phone down, stood up, walked over to the wall where our photos still hung. I hadn't taken them down. Us at the Grand Canyon, squinting into the sun, her hair tangled in wind. Us on the couch with our dog, who died 2 years ago but still haunted the corner of the living room in my head. Us at someone else's wedding, dancing like we were still in the beginning of a story. I stared at the photos like they were strangers. Or maybe like I was. I pulled one down, the one in the cheap wood frame she bought from a flea market because it had character. It slipped from my fingers before I meant to let it go, and it cracked against the floor. The sound was sharp, final. I didn't pick it up. I just stood there. I remember noticing the silence again, the hum of the refrigerator, the slow drip of the bathroom tap, even the sound of my own breath, shallow and uneven. I felt like I was watching myself from outside my own body, like I was a witness to something small and sad and private that didn't deserve a soundtrack. It's strange how quickly something can die, not just love, not just a relationship, but the entire reality you've been living in. I walked out the door in slippers, no jacket, no plan, just walked. The wind hit me like a slap. It was still technically winter, but the snow had melted and left behind the kind of cold that lingers in your bones. The sky was white-gray, indifferent. My feet carried me without permission, past the gas station, past the school with its mural peeling off the brick, past the coffee shop where we had our first fight about whether or not I listened when she talked. I didn't, not really. I wasn't thinking, I wasn't feeling, not really. I was just moving, like if I stopped, the grief would catch up. I walked for maybe 20 minutes before I found myself in front of a 24-hour diner, one of those places that looks like it belongs in a movie set in 1994. Neon signs buzzing, a cracked bench outside, grease on the windows. I went in. Sat down in a booth. The vinyl was torn, the table had sugar stuck to it. A waitress, mid-50s, tired eyes, pink lipstick, came over with a coffee pot and poured without asking. "You okay, sweetheart?" she asked. I opened my mouth to lie, but all that came out was a quiet, broken, "I don't know." She gave me a long look, nodded once and walked away. And I just sat there, fingers around a mug of bitter coffee, watching the steam rise and disappear. Wondering how long it would take for it all to sink in. Wondering who I was without her. Wondering if maybe the real problem was that I never really knew. I didn't go back to the condo that night. I stayed in the booth until the sun rose again, watching the sky turn from bruised purple to ash gray. I didn't eat. Just kept refilling the coffee cup until my hands started to tremble. At one point, the waitress brought me a glass of water and slid it across the table without looking at me. I think she understood something I couldn't say. There's a particular kind of grief that doesn't know where to go. Like it gets stuck in the chest, vibrating under the ribs, waiting for permission to be real. I couldn't cry, couldn't scream, couldn't even articulate what had happened because it all felt too small and too enormous at the same time. She left, that was the headline. But the fine print was years of small cuts, forgotten apologies, eyes that stopped meeting, long silences that became our shared language. Eli picked up after the second ring. His voice was thick with sleep, but when he heard mine, the nothingness in it, he just said, "Where are you?" "Some diner. I'll come get you." "No, I'll walk, just, can I crash?" "Of course." That was it, no interrogation, no pity, just a quiet understanding passed through the phone like an old coat. By the time I got to Eli's place, the April sky had opened up and started spitting rain. It wasn't dramatic, not a downpour, just that fine mist that gets into your bones and makes everything feel colder than it should be. I stood on his porch for a minute before knocking, not because I was hesitant, because I was afraid of what would come next. Because walking away from something is one thing, but surviving the next hour, that's something else entirely. Eli opened the door in sweatpants and a hoodie, barefoot, holding a mug that said "World's Okayest Roommate." He stepped aside without a word, and I stepped into the warmth of his living room, which smelled faintly of incense, dog, and whatever frozen pizza he lived off of. I didn't unpack, I didn't talk, I just sat on the couch and stared at a blank stretch of wall like it might open up and show me something. Give me a clue, a map, a reason. "I have weed," he said, a little too gently, "like you offer tea to someone mourning a ghost." I nodded. He rolled a joint, lit it, handed it to me. We passed it back and forth in silence while some generic show played in the background, loud enough to distract, not loud enough to matter. That night I lay on the couch under an old quilt that smelled like someone else's life. I thought about the last time she and I had touched, really touched, not just routine affection, not just muscle memory. I couldn't even remember it clearly. A few months ago, a year, it felt like remembering a dream I didn't write down, flashes of skin, of breath, of something I once knew how to do. And then came the images I couldn't stop. Her smile with someone else, her laugh in someone else's kitchen, her hand wrapped around someone else's wrist while she leaned in close. I hated that my first instinct was jealousy, not sadness, not love, just the selfish, feral fear of being replaced. For a while I just lay there, eyes open in the dark, heart punching the inside of my ribs, and I thought, maybe this is what it's like to lose your name. Not literally, but the name you wore when someone loved you. I wasn't her husband anymore, just a man on a couch in someone else's apartment, blinking up at the ceiling and counting regrets like stars. The next day I applied for a delivery job, grocery runs, no contact, no conversation, just pick up and drop off. I wanted something that made me invisible, something that let me move but didn't require me to be seen. I got the job within a week. Driving helped. There was something meditative about watching the world through a windshield. I'd coast through neighborhoods I'd never lived in, past houses lit up with other people's arguments and dinners and Netflix binges, and I'd feel like a ghost, present but untouched. Sometimes I'd think about what I'd say if I saw her again. Would I yell? Would I apologize? Would I even recognize her, not her face, but her energy? That spark that used to flash when she was passionate about something, when she was proud, when she was drunk on a rooftop telling me she never thought she'd fall in love with someone like me. That's what she said back then, someone like you. I never asked what that meant. I think I was afraid of the answer. Maybe she saw something in me I couldn't see in myself. Maybe I lived down to it. Eli gave me space. He worked late, played his guitar in the evenings, smoked on the balcony, and didn't ask questions. That was his gift. He didn't need the full story to sit in your silence with you. We'd watch old movies or sometimes just the news with the sound off, and I'd zone out halfway through and realize an hour had passed without me feeling anything. I started sleeping in my car sometimes, not because Eli wasn't generous, but because I felt like a guest in my own skin. Something about curling up in the driver's seat under a thin blanket, parked in the shadows behind a gym or near a trailhead or under a flickering streetlight, made me feel less like I was intruding on someone else's life. In my car, I didn't have to explain anything. One night, I woke up at 3 a.m. in the lot behind the supermarket, headlights flooding the interior from a passing truck, and I had this thought, sharp and clear. I don't know how to be alone without making it feel like a punishment. I think that's when I started to realize something bigger than the breakup was unraveling inside me. It wasn't just about her. It wasn't just about the condo or the phone call or the laughter that cut like a serrated knife. It was about the hollow space where my identity used to live. Because when love ends, it doesn't just leave. It takes parts of you with it. And what's left? Just a man in a car trying to remember how to come back to himself. It had been 3 months since the call. Maybe 4. Time had become soft around the edges, like bread left out overnight, stale and shapeless. I didn't mark days anymore. I knew them only by the small changes in the world around me. Warmer air, greener trees, less rain. Sometimes I'd see couples walking with iced coffees or kids chasing each other in front yards and realize summer was starting. It didn't feel like it in my body. I still moved like winter was under my skin. I was delivering groceries in a nicer part of town where the houses had clean driveways and dogs wore sweaters. I was halfway up the walk with 2 brown paper bags when I saw her car, not one like hers. The dent above the back wheel was still there from when I backed into a pole at the gas station, and she forgave me without a second thought. And I just froze, mid-step, bag in my hand like it was filled with something radioactive. I could have left the bags, marked it delivered, walked away, but something shifted. Not anger, not even pain, just a strange, low hum in my chest, a pull, like gravity had tilted a little in her direction. So I stepped back, put the bags down on the porch, knocked, and then without giving myself permission, I turned and walked toward the bookstore cafe across the street. Our bookstore, or it used to be, back when Sunday mornings were slow and safe, back when we still showed each other the underlined parts of our books, back when we still had inside jokes instead of bruises. I stepped inside and the smell hit me, coffee, old pages, and something sweet like vanilla or memory. My feet moved on their own, and then I saw her. She was at a table near the back in the corner we always claimed. Her hair was shorter now, choppier, like she'd cut it herself, maybe out of frustration or freedom. She looked lighter, thinner maybe, but also like less was weighing her down. She was smiling. And not at me. She was smiling at a man across from her. He was wearing a denim jacket and had the kind of posture people have when they feel wanted. I turned to leave. I really did. I took a step back toward the door, but something held me, or maybe I was just tired of avoiding, tired of making myself small. She looked up, caught me. Everything paused for a second. Her face didn't register shock. It registered something else, something quieter. Resignation, maybe, or softness. I walked over slowly. My hands felt stupid. My feet felt like sandbags. She didn't look away, just tilted her head slightly, like she was trying to see me clearly. "Hi," I said. My voice felt rusted, like it had been unused for too long. "Hi," she said. Her tone was calm, careful. The man looked at her, then at me, then stood up politely. "I'll give you a minute," he said. She nodded. He walked out without looking back. We sat there, the same table, the same 2 chairs, but it felt like sitting inside a memory that had already ended. "You look different," she said. "So do you," I replied. It wasn't a compliment. It wasn't an accusation, just an observation. We had both become different people. I tried to smile. It didn't land. "You're still delivering?" she asked. I nodded. "You always like to drive." I raised an eyebrow. "Did I?" She smiled, just a flicker. "You'd never admit it, but yeah. It was one of the few times you seemed at peace, when it was just you and the road." I didn't know what to say to that. I realized how little I'd known how I looked to her, all that time, all those shared days, and I never thought to ask, "When do I seem most myself to you?" Then the words came out of me, raw, unfinished, but real. "Why'd you laugh that day?" She looked down, touched the rim of her coffee cup like she needed something to hold on to. "Because," she said quietly, "if I hadn't laughed, I would have cried, and I knew if I cried, you'd hear it, and if you heard it, you'd think there was still something left to fix, and I couldn't go through that again." Her voice cracked a little, just enough to remind me that she hadn't been okay either. "I hated that call," she added. "I rehearsed it 100 times and it still came out wrong." I swallowed hard. The lump in my throat was back. I felt 12 and 100 years old at the same time. "I loved you," I said. "Even at the end, I forgot how to show it, or I got scared too." She nodded, eyes glossy now. "I know, and I stopped asking you to." We sat in the quiet that followed like it was church. Not full of God, just full of something reverent and broken. "I think I thought love would just carry us," I admitted. "Like if we said it enough, it would do all the work, but it didn't." "No," she said softly, "it didn't." She reached across the table, touched my hand, not like a lover, not even like a friend, just like someone who once shared a life with me, who knew how I took my coffee and which dreams I never said out loud. "You don't have to forgive me," she whispered, "but I need you to know I wasn't laughing at you." And I nodded, because I did know that now, even if it had taken months and silence and sleepless nights and miles of asphalt to understand. She pulled her hand back, sipped what was left of her coffee. "I'm moving," she said, "out west, job offer." I smiled, a real one this time. "You'll love the mountains." She smiled back, "I think I will." I stood, "Take care of yourself." "You too." And that was it. I walked out into the sun that had started to stretch across the pavement, and I felt something strange, not peace, but relief, like an exhale I hadn't known I was holding, like something old and heavy had finally broken loose. And I realized the confrontation I needed wasn't with her. It was with myself. The version of me that kept expecting to be rescued. The version that mistook silence for strength. The version that waited too long to speak and then wondered why everything fell apart. That version was behind me now. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe I could move forward, not as the man she left, but as someone becoming whole again. The new place is small, a basement studio on a dead-end street where the sidewalk's cracked and weeds grow like they're proud of it. The front door sticks in the humidity. The windows rattle when trains pass, and they pass often. There's no washer, no air conditioning, no fancy anything. But I have a mattress on the floor, a thrifted lamp with a warm bulb, and 3 potted plants I haven't managed to kill. Yet, that feels like progress. It's quiet here, but not the suffocating kind. Not like the condo. This is a different quiet, one that doesn't feel like it's accusing me of something. I keep the windows cracked open now. I let the wind in, even when it carries the smell of the dumpsters out back. I've started liking the sound of life around me, people arguing faintly in the apartment above, a dog barking down the street, kids laughing in bursts as they race shopping carts through the alley. I used to hate that kind of noise. Now it reminds me I'm not the only one trying to make sense of things. I got a small desk from Facebook Marketplace. It wobbles a little, but I like it. I sit there most mornings with black coffee and cheap toast, and I write, not anything polished, just thoughts, memories, confessions I can't say out loud. Some mornings I just list what I notice: sunlight on the carpet, the shadow of my own hand, the smell of burnt coffee from the neighbor's place. It anchors me. I go to therapy now once a week. Her name is Marion, and she has kind eyes and a chair that creaks too much when I shift. The first session, I told her everything too fast, like I was vomiting truth just to get it over with. Now we're slower. We sit with things. She asks questions I don't always know how to answer. "What would it mean to forgive yourself?" she asked last week. And I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I didn't even know what that looked like. But I'm trying to find out. Eli and I still hang out sometimes, but we don't talk about her anymore. That door's closed, and I think he respects the seal. He helped me move into the new place, showed up with beer and zero judgment. We put together a shelf with missing screws and made dumb jokes until my stomach hurt. That night, I fell asleep sober for the first time in weeks. Just full, not of happiness exactly, just full of being alive. I ran into her once more at the grocery store of all places. We both reached for the same bag of coffee. Our hands touched and we both pulled back like we'd been caught stealing. She looked good. A little sunburned, a little lighter still. We smiled. Small, real, nothing was said. We both reached for different bags and moved on. That was enough. I don't keep pictures of us anymore, not out of anger. Just, the frames are empty now. What we were doesn't need to be displayed to stay real. I remember her without needing proof. Her laugh, her sleepy voice in the mornings. The way she always sat on the floor instead of the couch, legs crossed like a kid, eating cereal straight out of the box. Those memories don't hurt the same way anymore. They're just there, like old songs I used to love. I've started cooking, badly but often. My hands shake less when I chop now. I don't use her old pans. I bought a new skillet, cheap, steel, no memories baked into it. I'm learning how to feed myself without a microwave or shame. That feels like something. There are days when the grief still shows up without knocking. I'll be driving or brushing my teeth or buying paper towels and something will hit, a smell, a lyric, a memory, and I'll have to pause. Let it roll through. I don't push it down anymore. I let it come. It doesn't stay as long these days. The biggest change is this: I'm no longer waiting. Not for her, not for forgiveness, not for some cosmic green light to tell me it's okay to begin again. I'm already beginning, every single day in tiny, boring ways that no one will ever write poems about. Like making my bed. Like calling my sister back. Like watering my plants even when I don't want to. Like not texting her on her birthday. Some days I still feel lost, but I've stopped panicking about it. Some maps you draw as you go. I've been thinking a lot about that moment, the phone call, the laugh, the breaking. I used to replay it like it was the moment my life cracked open and everything spilled out. But now I wonder, maybe that was the first breath of something I hadn't learned to want yet. Something like freedom. Not the exciting kind, not the kind that comes with plane tickets and loud music. The quiet kind. The kind where you wake up in a room that smells like your own breath and the coffee is a little bitter and the mirror shows you someone unfinished, but finally becoming honest. That's where I am now. Not healed, not whole, but real. And maybe that's enough to build something from, slowly, quietly. On my own terms.